People that know me know that at the end of the day, I am a good person. So I'm asking for help from the world, from Meek Mills, Lil Wayne, Young Boy, Donald Trump. I'm asking for these people. I couldn't even get a lawyer. I couldn't even afford a lawyer to prove my innocence while I was in Orleans Parish jail.
We ain't taking long to get back because this is Fugitive TV. I grew up watching friends die, friends go to jail. I thought that would never be me, till the day I decided to pawn a TV that my friend gave me. That TV ended up being stolen. One thing led to another. Going in and out of jail, I escaped twice. I started one of the biggest crime rings in the state. 10 years it gave me. My 3-year-old son passed away during this process. I could not take it, so I went on the run for 15 years. Different countries, different names, I did it all. My life has been something you only read about in books, but this is nonfiction. This is me. What we're going to do is we're going to break down Antoine Massey. Now listen, I had another video I was going to put out about Derrick Groves called Is He Framed or Is He Really a Menace? I'm still going to release that video, but nobody was expecting Mr. Massey to put this video out that's right behind me. I'm one of the only few people that you probably can hear that's going to be able to break down his perspective, because if you haven't been following my story, I was actually on the run. I'm an ex-fugitive. I escaped, I went on the run. I was on the run for 15 years and I ended up turning myself in. But when I was on the run, I did a lot of stuff. So I'm going to explain some of the things. And when I say stuff, I don't mean bad things. I actually didn't break any crimes. When I ended up turning myself in, the judge gave me 2 years probation because I corrected myself while I was out, and I was gone for so long, didn't do any crimes. And while I was gone, I was actually helping my community. It's all going to be in my book pretty soon that I have coming out. So I'm going to break down, this whole video and what it means. And then some of the stuff in his video, I already told you guys in my prior videos, right? He was let out. He didn't escape. I told you guys, if you remember in the other video I put out, I said, I don't believe they went through that hole. There's no way they went through that hole. I'm about to break it down for one reason why. So let's go back, rewind back to that video where they're trying to pull the door open. Let's rewind back to that. Remember that video? They're trying to pull the door open. So what times did they escape? Do you guys remember the times they escaped? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to break down this whole timeline of events, right? Not the whole, but just a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. So look, check this out. You see right here where it says at around 12:22 a.m., a surveillance camera captured several inmates out of their cells, forcing another cell sliding door, according to the sheriff's office. For those of you that's never been locked up or in jail, I'm going to explain something to you. This is how it works. Inmates are in their cells, right? They're not let out all hours of the day, and they're not let out all hours of the night.
They said that I broke out. I didn't break out. I was let out. My name is Antoine Massey.
Usually they are locked down during shift change. When a shift change happens, they go to lockdown so the guards or the cops, whoever's in the jail running the jail, can do their count. So what happens is you have these shifts. Now, these guards work long hours. Anybody knows a prison guard, they work long hours. I think it's like 12 hours a day or something like that, 12-hour shifts. I don't remember, but it's not 8-hour shifts. It's a long shift they work. Usually you have the day and then you have the night shift. The night shift comes in. Inmates are usually locked down, and then they're let back out inmates usually let back out for dinner time. Chow, whatever you want to call it. Usually you're let back out around those times. Now, when you're let back out around those times, you usually stay out until, let's say, 9:30, 10 o'clock, whatever jail you're in. Every time is different. Usually it's 9:30, 10 o'clock. I've never in my life seen somebody let out past 10, 10:30. Never seen that. Now, remember what this time said. This time said around 11:22 a.m., a surveillance camera captured several inmates out of their cells, forcing another cell sliding door, according to the sheriff's office. I would still want to see this full video. They've never showed this full video because, first of all, why are these inmates out at past midnight? They're not supposed to be. That is way past protocol. They're not supposed to be out past midnight. I don't care how many doors are, broke.
The night shift, graveyard shift, 2,200 hours to 600 hours in the morning. Now, I love that too because you got less administration, less bosses looking over your shoulders, less people to find shit wrong with what you're doing. If you want to run away and not deal with administration, take graveyard shift. You ain't got to deal with hardly nothing but sleeping inmates and counting of inmates, and that's about it.
Every jail you go into, there's going to be doors broke. There is no jail where the doors aren't broke. They break these doors. I don't care what they do. The sheriff is asking for more money to fix the doors. It doesn't work that way. They're going to fix these doors, and there's going to be inmates that still figure out to try and break them. There's called pop the lock. They're going to pop the lock. It happens all the time. I've been in pods where the doors are locked. I've been in a cell where I've been in pods where the doors are, how you want to say, broke, or you can Jimmy rig the door open. I've been in a pod where you could Jimmy rig my door open. I've never done it, but I know you could. If this really happened at 12:22 a.m., like this says, where is the guard at? And another reason I don't believe a lot of this stuff, and if it is right, that means this jail is corrupt. This jail is really corrupt because usually a count happens at nighttime. So what happens is you have the guard that was just on the day shift, right? That guard will pretty much do his count. He'll go by the cells with a counter. He'll mark it down, whatever it is. He'll count all the inmates. He goes back and he inputs his inmates. So how much there was in there? Let's say it's 50 inmates. Maybe it's 100 inmates, whatever it is. Let's say 50. The new guard will come on duty and now he does his count. So when he does his count has to match the guard he's replacing. And then they both check off on each other. You got 50, I got 50. All right, we're good to go. You can go home now. Go check out. That's the way it's supposed to go.
A block like this where there's just the upstairs and downstairs. 16 stairs up, 16 stairs down. And then the steps you take across the top and the bottom. And back to the desk.
You do it several times an hour?
We have to do it at least every half hour.
Once again, at 12:22 a.m., a count was supposed to be done about an hour and a half ago. Once that count at 11 o'clock happens, these inmates are not supposed to be back out of their cell. It doesn't happen that way. They're not out all night long. Have any of you guys ever got a collect call from a county jail at 12:30 at night? No, I'm pretty sure not. And if you have, please leave a detailed description of what happened. I'm pretty sure they weren't out just to be out and watching TV and a late night show. It wasn't like that. It does not work that way. Okay, trust me, any of you guys that have been inside, you know it does not work that way. If it doesn't work that way, why were they out at 12:20 a.m.? Now, see, I didn't even peep the time when I first started reporting on this. I did not peep the time on this. All right. But then I realized, like, hold on, what time did this actually happen? 12:22 a.m. That is crazy. How did one guard count at around 11, what you're supposed to do, or when his shift ends, and then the next guard come in and does a count and they see this, right? Or the next guard comes in, does his count, and these inmates are back out. How does that happen? Right? How does that happen? They should be able to go in there and be like, hey, what are y'all doing? Y'all need to go back in your cells. But if you look at the video, you see another guy walking by, looking up. It looks like it's just a regular day in this pod and this clip they're showing us. So I don't believe that this happened at that time. I really don't. And if it did, that really shows that this jail is corrupt, which means the video that Antoine Massey put out, you have to believe some of what he's saying. You have to.
The system is corrupted. Okay, she did this, right? Saying all allegations against me is false, and she even saying it. She let them know the truth that I never did this to her. I never hit her. I was nowhere around her. Nothing. She got mad and thought that I was dealing with another woman. That's why she did what she did to me.
Just off the video evidence alone of what these people put out to the media and what we're seeing. And not only that, I know from the inside it doesn't work this way. It doesn't. All right, it does not. So that is bogus. And the way the jail operates is when the guard's doing his count, right? They're supposed to count, and I brought this up in another video. They're supposed to count every 15 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour, or whatever it is. At nighttime, I know it's less, but during the daytime, they count more frequently, right? Because at nighttime, it's less because they're supposed to be in their cells locked up. That's why. So, and there's less guards on duty during the nighttime than there is the daytime. So, because you got more activities going on during the day. There's a lot more stuff going on during the day. The inmates are out, they're eating, they're going to the court, everything else. There's a lot more stuff that happens during the day. All right. So I'm just giving you guys a picture of what happens in these pods and in these jails. Not only that, right? This jail is also, you know, they're connected to the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office, which means the sheriff herself, it should be right next door, which means everybody should be on top of their game. If your boss is right next door to you, you think you're not going to be slacking off on your game. But what was the report they told us at first? One of the guards supposedly fell asleep. Then they also said a guard went off to go eat. It's funny, and I said this before, none of the guards have got arrested, but they happened to arrest the maintenance worker. It says about 12:43 a.m., multiple inmates had entered the cell they were trying to access, according to the sheriff's office. Inside the cell, the inmates removed a combination sink toilet from the wall of the cell and created a hole in the wall. According to affidavit, they were able to saw steel bars between the cell sink per affidavit. With the water being turned off, the inmates are able to successfully make good on their escape. Louisiana Bureau of Investigation Special Agent Michael Moore wrote an affidavit. Who is this guy? Let's do some research later on Michael Moore. If the inmates removed the sink in the cell and disconnected the rest of the plumbing with the water still on, the plan to escape would not have been successful, potentially flooding the cell, drawing attention to their actions. Now, that is true. That is very true. Now, I brought this up in my last video, but now we have a better picture of this hole in the wall. First of all, they have this picture and then this picture. This looks like it's the same hole in the wall, right? You can tell by the two, if you can see my arrow, the black stain right here, the black stain right here. It looks like it's the same hole in the wall, right? My whole thing is this. So you see these bolts missing. This bolt missing, that bolt missing, all this stuff is missing. The inmates couldn't do that. They can't do that. There's no tool that's given to you that they can do this with. I don't care what they say. There's no plastic spoon. There's no newspaper. There is no soap bar that can do this. If there was, don't you think inmates would be escaping a long time ago? So that means somebody had to do all this. Second of all, let's go to this picture. Now you see somebody did this. Thank you for saying it's a rebar. It's a rebar. Somebody left a comment saying this is what's called rebar. So you see these rebars, right? So there's two here, two here. Looks like it was cut here, cut here. You see how skinny that pole is, or I should say that the tube for the plumbing? Look at the space in between this, right? Somebody had to fit their whole head and body out of here to get out. I don't know about you, now I don't know about me, but y'all saw that Antoine Massey video, and I ain't trying to roast, but he had a big head.
From the straight tattoos in my face and things of that nature, of course they gonna believe Sterling.
Unless that was AI, that was a big head. I don't see him fitting through this thing. It ain't happening. And not only that, what did they use to cut this? What did they use to cut that? So once again, I told you guys, I don't believe they went through the hole. I told you that. And why is that? Because Antoine Massey said they got let out. He didn't escape. He got let out. He got let out. I even said I think they got let out. I think a door was opened up because if you go back to the video and you go back to the other video I posted, I said it didn't make no sense. All of them are just running out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see them running out, right? If they were squeezing through a hole, they wouldn't all be running out at the almost same time. They would take their time, squeeze through the hole, and the next one would run. And there would be maybe a minute or 20 seconds, whatever it is, because the other person squeezing out, the next person run. No, it looked like a door got opened up and they were just running out one at a time. It just think logically, okay? These people are doing something. I don't know what is going on, but it's just not adding up. So some of the stuff, I do believe him. I believe what he's saying in a lot of the stuff, right? Another thing he said that the maintenance worker accused Mr. Massey of saying, if you don't do this, I'm going to shank you.
The guy who said that I threatened him with a shank, the maintenance guy, how could I threaten you with a shank? If you can't come around me, you're a maintenance. You cannot come on the tills without a deputy being behind you. Because if they just let you on the till, you could be persuaded to bring drugs or anything like that in that nature. So how can I threaten you to jail you? And why you didn't notify the people, the police, that if I did threaten you, you never did that?
Now, I've never in my life been in a pod where a maintenance worker a nurse or somebody who wasn't a guard walked into the pod and there was no guard in there with him, I've never seen that happen. I've seen people walk into the pod that was not a guard before, but they always had some escort or there was a guard in there. Not just for the reason of, do this, I'm going to do this to you. And not only that, but to bribe some people and safety, because you can do anything. You could take one of these guards' tools, or not guards. You could take a maintenance worker's tools. You could steal a screwdriver while he's not looking. You can't even have a pin in some of these places. You can steal a lot of things from him while he's not looking. Not only that, what if you decide I want to take this guy hostage or this woman hostage, this nurse hostage? And, there's stuff like that they have to consider. They have to have, escort in. So when the first thing I said was he's gonna, shank me if I don't cut this hole in the wall. It just made no sense. It made no sense because the guard's right there. All the maintenance guy had to do was turn and be like, yo, this man over here is doing something. And next thing you know, Massey's gone. He's gone. That's the way it works. That is the way it works. All right. He's in a hole, whatever it is. The maintenance worker is a civilian. He's a civilian. The inmates really don't mess with the maintenance workers. It's like a nurse telling on somebody. Think about this. I've been in a pod plenty of times where, let's say, the nurse comes in a pod and they got to give you the pills. It happens two ways. They can go to your cell and give you the pill, or people line up at the pod door and they get these pills. And the guard's usually right there. So this happens. I've seen this happen before. The nurse will give you your pill. It's in a white disposable cup. You're supposed to take the pill, drink water, and then you have to go and show the nurse or show the guard or whatever, right? That you swallowed it, because they don't want you holding it in your mouth and going back to the cell, because certain pills you can sniff later or sell it. Now you're selling drugs technically, so you can't do that. It's a crime. I've seen people try to get away with putting a pill under their tongue or in their mouth, and next thing go and the nurse catch them. What does the nurse do? The nurse tells the guard right away. Ain't nobody came back for the nurse. That it doesn't happen. That nurse is a civilian. It doesn't happen that way, right? So some people saying, they would have jumped the guard if you would have told. I've never seen it. Never seen it. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I've never seen it, because civilians are going to tell on you. They're civilians. They're working at the jail. They're not in there. They're working. They didn't get put in sentence. They're working, which means they have a clean record and they're not tied to anybody. That's why they're working there. Okay. Hopefully anyway. So I believe when he said he didn't do that, because when I first heard that, I was like, what? That don't make no sense whatsoever. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm going to tell y'all something else. I know he showed us the paperwork, and he said, why am I in jail if I'm innocent? He did say that he was on a parole, I guess. So they put a parole hold on you. So I don't care if you're on parole and you go into a store and steal a candy bar, or let's say, claim they stole you a candy bar. You broke the law.
This is the charge, domestic abuse violation. This is about the shit in St. Tammany. Why would I, in Orleans Parish, why was I even in jail? That's what I'm trying to show y'all. That's why I left the jail. And they have a lot more brothers that's innocent, just like me, that's trying to prove their innocence. That's why they ran. Jason Williams, the sheriff.
When you're on papers meaning parole or probation, anything like that, you're not supposed to have any interaction with the police. Not supposed to. If you have some sort of interaction with the police are questioning you about a crime. Your probation officer, parole officer, has the right to revoke it or try to revoke it, but they have the right to send you in jail. That's the power they have. It sucks, but they have that power over you. So, meaning, when he caught these other charges, when that girl said, hey, he did this to me, did this to me, the parole officer revoked his parole and sent him into jail. Now, while he's in jail, it looks like to me that the lady, the girl who, said that, hey, he did this to me, went and signed an affidavit and talked with the DA and said, hey, he really didn't. I made this up, whatever it is. The DA still has the right to keep these charges on you, even though they don't have the witness. Even though they don't have the witness, they still can do this. This is what's messed up about it. They still can keep going. They still can try and charge you, and you still can try and go to trial over this, even without the witness. You know why? Because they're trying to get you to plead to something. They're trying to get you to plead to something. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the very first time I got in trouble. I got in trouble over a stolen TV. My ex-roommate, it's in my book and everything. I'll briefly explain this real quick. My ex-roommate gave me a TV to go sell to try and make money for rent. I went and pawned the TV, right? Got a little bit of money, paid my rent off. 8 months down the road, 6 months down the road, I got pulled over. And when I got pulled over, I had a warrant for robbery, theft, false information to a pawn shop. I had like 4 felonies on me. I don't even know what was going on until I went to jail. They gave me the charges. I'm still wondering what's going on. I bond out a few weeks later because it was a 10K bond or something like that. Bond out. When I finally get the discovery and everything else, it was over that TV I pawned. Now, that TV ended up getting robbed out of somebody's house. Even though my fingerprints didn't match the people's fingerprints in the house that robbed it, they still put me as I robbed the house. I committed theft and I did false submission to a pawn shop. This is my first ever charge. I had a public defender, a court-appointed attorney. He came up to me and said, well, if you plead guilty to a false submission to a pawn shop, you'll get let out today and you got to worry about nothing. Me being 21, 22 at the time, I didn't know any better. So I was like, oh, I'm going to plead guilty to this so I can get out of, don't have to worry about going back to jail. That's, pled guilty. That first felony ruined my whole life. I was going to go to the Air Force, everything. I couldn't even do it anymore because it ruined my whole life. And it's not really the public defender's fault, but it's also my fault too for not having knowledge of the situation. I should have more knowledge. What I should have done was fight that. And even the false information to a pawn shop, I shouldn't even accept it because at the end of the day, I didn't even lie to the pawn shop. I said this TV was given to me a certain amount of time, but I didn't know any better. So what these system will do is they'll just pile all these charges up and tell you to plead guilty to this, plead guilty to that. Plead guilty to this, plead guilty to that, because that's what they want to do. They want to rack up these charges. They want to do that. That is how the system works. So you got all these charges on you, Anton, all these charges on you. So they want you to plead guilty. That's the way it works. And you probably know this by now. And now you're trying to fight back. Now, I will say one thing. Like in the beginning of the video, I told you I was on the run, so I know exactly how he feels. I was on the run for 15 years. Just imagine that. Now, I don't know if the dreams or anything set into him yet, but for 15 years, I had dreams of being chased by the police, being chased by somebody, going to jail. I used to wake up in the night from these nightmares. I had these dreams for 15 years. No matter what I did, what location I lived at, what country I was in, what name I was under, I still had these dreams. And it's hard to shake that. After I turned myself in, I no longer have those dreams. I have this weight off of my, my shoulders, off my back, off my chest, everything. So I know exactly what you're going through. I know exactly. The one thing I can say, if I was to give any advice, do not commit any crimes while you're out. Please, whatever you do, do not commit any crimes. Do not do that because they're going to use that against you. Right now, they want to make an example out of you. They want to because you're making them look like a fool. So any crime you commit, they're going to put that on you, times 12, times 100, times 200. So please do not commit any crimes. I know they say, oh, turn yourself in is better for you and you don't have to face any additional charges. Well, here's the thing. They're probably already going to make you face additional charges because they're wasting so-called $200,000 a week just to search for you. So they're probably already going to have these additional charges on you. So you're going to have an escape charge already. You're going to have that, I don't care if they open the door for you. You're still going to have some escape charge unless you have a good lawyer that can knock it down to absconding, whatever it is. But they're still going to have something on you, I should say. But don't commit any crimes. Don't do any of that. If you were to ask me, I would say have somebody turn yourself in. Hey, the reward money is $50K right now. Maybe have somebody collect, turn you in, get that $50K and maybe have them help pay for a lawyer. I don't know. But all I know is, listen, I believe a lot of what you're saying. I do because I was in that situation. So I know exactly what you mean by this corrupt. Yeah, it's corrupt. They say innocent till proven guilty. It's guilty till proven innocent. I saw videos of your auntie coming out, saying a lot of stuff, whatever, right? So you guys go look at the videos of his auntie. She put some videos out, a couple videos. Go look at those too. What she's saying was matching up to what he was saying, Now, there is two sides to a story. We haven't heard the young lady's side, that he's accused of doing this stuff with. I'm not going to sit here and say we don't need to hear her side. Of course, she has a side too. It really just sounds like there is a toxic relationship between the two is what it sounds like. It sounds like it was just toxic to begin with. He should have left her. Maybe she should have left him a long time ago. And let's not forget, this is the girl that's in jail right now for even helping him supposedly escape. So obviously it wasn't, it might be toxic, but hey, they love each other. But some things need to let go. All right. But hey, I had to break this down. I'm still going to put out the next video. The video is going to be about Derrick Groves. Y'all need to stay attention to this video because I'm about to pull out some, stuff on him. Now, for y'all that don't know, Mr. Massey, Antoine Massey, how at the end of the video, he's asking for help from maybe a young boy, Lil Wayne Trump. He's actually got a connection with Lil Wayne. There's actually a picture of Anton's dad sitting next to Lil Wayne's dad, not baby, Lil Wayne's real dad, Rabbit. Okay, they were friends at one point, so he actually does have a connection to Lil Wayne. But this is Fugitive TV. Book coming soon. I'm out.